We are now joined by our race winner, Brian Vickers, winner of the Camping World RV Sales 301. This is Brian's third Sprint Cup Series victory. There have been 11 different winners in the last 11 Sprint Cup Series races here at New Hampshire. And Brian, with your win today, you are now eligible for the 2014 NASCAR Sprint All-Star Race. Obviously, a big day for you, a big day for the organization. Let's start with Brian, Rodney, and then Ty will end with you. Just talk a little bit about what today is, and just try to put it in words for everyone here.
I don't know that I can, to be honest with you. I think, I mean, just everything that a lot of us have gone through, and everything that I've gone through over the last so many years, from the blood clots, and you wake up one morning and you're just not sure, you're just hoping to be around the next, to are you ever going to race again, to okay, I may race again, to all right, I'm racing, now I don't have a job, to getting a phone call from Ty and him asking me if I was interested in running 8 races, and I said absolutely, and to go through all that, and then to have an opportunity. One of the most exciting things, no offense, Ty, for me was to work with Rodney. I've known Rodney since I was about 8 years old. The first time he helped my father and another guy named Corey and some folks put my first go-kart together. At least that's what they told me. I was too young to remember. But, sure. Rodney and I have been trying to work together for a long time. It's taken us 20 years to do it, and nothing could be more special for me and for the both of us to have this win. And I think for me personally, the biggest thing is just the support of family and friends, my parents, my grandmother, my fiancée Sarah, and so many others through all of the difficult times and not having a ride, and then having a select few folks that in the community that still believed in me and supported me along the way. And that starts with Aaron's, taking a chance on me. Ty made the call, but I'm sure they had a say in it, and obviously Rob and Michael, Toyota, all this time, all the sponsors at MWR, and it's just when everything's going your way and when you're in victory lane, everyone's your friend. But when your back's against the wall and everything's down and things aren't looking so good, you really find out quickly, who's willing to vouch for you and not. And I learned a lot through that experience personally. I grew a lot as a person myself, and I'm thankful for that. And I, with everything that's happened, I'd like to think that I'll never forget those learning curves, and and I doubt that's going to happen. But all of that coming here and sitting in victory lane just makes it one of the most special events of my life.
Rodney?
Well, I mean, he covered most of our past, but yeah, I can remember the day that Clyde walked into our go-kart shop in Cornelius, North Carolina, and said he wanted to buy his 8-year-old kid a go-kart, and so we got it together overnight, and they came and picked it up the next day, and then a good friend of ours, Corey, helped Brian get started. But this means a lot to me. We've been hot and cold over the years with NWR. We got to win our first race together in 2009 and our second race as a company in 2010 at Chicago. And, it's something that you think about every single weekend. And, this weekend we knew we had a good car. A lot of people probably saw I said something last night about I was going to not sleep all night. But when you got a car that good, in practice, and you can make a small change to make it really, really good, it's hard to sleep at night. And so we made a few changes this morning, and actually what we did didn't work, and we got going along through the race there. And first pit stop of the race, we made a mistake on pit road. We made really big adjustments, a double adjustment in the rear, and left a wrench on the deck lid, and ended up getting a penalty and getting a lap down, and we all fought all day, and Brian never gave up and just drove his butt off all day, and we just got the right opportunity at the end, and sometimes days go your way and sometimes they don't, and we've had plenty that haven't. So just very fortunate that things worked out at the end the way that they did. The Toyota horsepower and having great fuel mileage all weekend. We knew this morning if it came down to a fuel mileage race, we were going to be in really good shape. So just happy for everybody, happy for everybody at MWR and the 250-some employees that we have that put all these cars together. And just really happy with Aaron's. They've been a big supporter of myself and this team and everybody at MWR for a long time. And you know, been wanting to get them a real win. Everybody said that the win in Charlotte wasn't a real one because we won it in the rain. So we got them a real one now. So it means a lot to me, and you know, it's good for our team.
Todd?
Yeah, I just felt like this race was actually sort of representative of the two entities being represented here, which is Michael Waltrip Racing and Brian Vickers. We were both at one point left for dead. We were believed that you know, we wouldn't continue, and his career was in a state of flux. Our race was very much like that today after the penalty, and you know, we spent probably 2/3 of the races running in the teens to 20s, and we knew that looking at the speed that wasn't representative. But one of the most impressive things that's happened all this season, I think, in our entire sport, may have gone a little bit unnoticed. Brian did not get a chance to come to Sonoma, did not practice, did not get one lap in it, didn't get to qualify, flew in, dropped into the seat Sunday morning at Sonoma. And at the end of the race, there were 110 laps, and the person with the most fast laps of the day was Brian Vickers. And that just doesn't happen. And that shows incredible talent, shows incredible confidence in yourself and in the equipment and the communication between these two. They can do that over the phone. And so we always have confidence when he gets in the car that we can run up front and that we can compete for the win. And it's because he's a talented race car driver, and our organization's ready to win consistently, and we've won 2 of the last 4, and so I'd say if we can keep that 50% streak going, we'll be all right.
All right, let's go ahead and open for questions for any of the 3 here. We're going to start with Jim Utter, then we'll go to Mark Garrow, and then we'll come up to David Newton.
Jim Uttershaw, Observer for Brian. You kind of touched on this. I'm sure at one point being able to race again was a huge accomplishment in and of itself. Where does winning rank in that? Because, I mean, sure, at one point you weren't even sure if you might race again, but where does this win rank in that?
A good bit above getting just racing. You know, I mean, I think you said it, and just to be back in a race car, for me personally was a big goal and a big accomplishment and a big step, and it was because no one around me would let me give up on myself. You know, I mean, I obviously didn't give up on myself, but you know, when you have so much love and support around you, that makes all the difference in the world. So I've got to thank my family and friends for that through all that. Obviously, being able to win after all that is just almost unimaginable. I mean, it's so beyond what I was thinking about in that moment. You know, just getting back into a race car was all I could think about. But once I decided to get back in, my goal was to win a championship, and along the way, hopefully win some races. And that still is my goal. I know it's a high goal, but you know, that's why we're here. And you know, I feel like for the first time in my career, and this has nothing to do with anybody else or anyone I've worked with or worked for, sometimes it's just about chemistry. And I feel like the partners and the owners and the management and the crew chief and everything I'm working with right now probably clicks as good as it ever has in my entire career. Obviously, I've grown a lot as a person through all the struggles, and I've learned a lot. I mean, we all do as we grow older. We all mature. But the chemistry that I've had with Rodney for 20 years, and, you know, the chemistry that I have with everyone at MWR and the management and Ty and Rob and Michael, and the fact that they believe in me, sometimes even more than I believe in myself, you know, makes all the difference in the world. And I've told them several times, and I've made this statement privately and publicly, and I feel like this is, you know, there's no guarantees in this sport. This is a very, very challenging, very competitive sport in the Sprint Cup Series. but I feel like I can win a championship with this team, and that's our goal.
And just real quick, I want to talk about a couple of things. During that phone call when we first talked, the reason why I knew what his situation was because as friends we were talking a lot about all the opportunities that had come his way. And he would say, what do you think about this or what do you think about that? And because he knows I'm pretty blunt, and I'll tell him my thoughts. And then when this opportunity came, at the time it was only 6 races. And he said, I get a chance, I have an opportunity to go run for a full-time team and run all year, probably make more money. But if I get the chance to run those 6 races, I would rather run with a place where I can win. If I can just get a place where I can win, I'd rather do that than run every week. And he took that whole 2012 season and took that into consideration, ran our 6 races. We actually rewarded him 2 more, and then now it's up to 9 this year. And so hopefully it'll be way, way more than that going into the future. But I mean, that's to his credit. He wasn't going to take a situation just to get back in the car to prove everybody that he could do it. He came back into the right situation.
All right, let's go to Mark.
Mark Garrow, PRN, sort of a Brian, and this is also for Ty and Rodney as well. Last restart, we saw yesterday, we saw several times today, guys would barrel in there on the bottom and just use up the guy on the outside. I thought Kyle Busch and Tony did everything they could to get to your door without, getting into you, and gave you a fair shot. They gave themselves every chance to win. Can you talk about what you thought of the way that final restart went and how they treated you? And I'd like to know from Ty and Rodney just, what your feelings were going into that restart and what you felt when, he's driving away and you didn't want to see it.
It was a bit of a double-edged sword, knowing Tony was on my inside. And I say that with the utmost respect. I've had some fierce battles with Tony over the years. We've, for the most part, agreed and had some great racing, and occasionally we have not. But through all of that, I feel like we've earned a mutual respect. And it goes without saying, I have a tremendous amount of respect for Tony Stewart as a race car driver. He's been a friend and a mentor at times, and an enemy at times. But the one thing I knew is that he was going to race me harder than just about anyone else out there. But I also knew that he wasn't going to wreck me, certainly not intentionally. He was going to race me clean and with respect. But so it was a bit of a double-edged sword. I was like, gosh, the last person I want to have to battle on a green-white checker is Tony Stewart. I mean, that guy, when he digs deep, he finds something that most people just can't find. And that's not what I wanted beside me. But at the same time, I knew that he wasn't going to go off in there and just hit me. He wasn't going to use me up. He wasn't going to run me off the racetrack, and he wasn't going to wreck me. And that's just, that's the double-edged sword I'm talking about. But I thank him for racing me clean and hard. But most importantly, it was this car that gave me the opportunity. I mean, man, we had a fast race car. It was just unbelievably fast. And Rodney kept telling me at the end of the race, he's like, okay, you're good, slow down. I was like, man, I'm slowing down. I was like, I'm rolling out early. I'm doing and it just kept going. And, and that's thanks to Rodney and all the engineers in MWR and everyone on this race team. They just gave me a great piece, especially in the race, like Rodney said. We started with a good car. We made some adjustments. Not all of them worked like we wanted at the beginning of the race. But he made some great calls during the race, some great adjustments, and some great pit strategy to get the car right and to get us the track position we needed. And that's what won us the race.
Yeah, for me, I was on top of the spotter stand, and when they went into the corner 3 wide, I was just hoping someone didn't make a mistake, and I hadn't seen the top side of 3 wide come out of turn 2 ahead ever here. And when he came out of turn 2 with the lead and those two were jockeying, it was like he hit a 3-point shot at the buzzer to win the national championship. I mean, I was fist pumping and pumped up for him because I knew that was the moment. And lost in all that. Jeff Burton had a great day as well, and to see him come back, he gets beat up a lot too. I thought it was cool that he had the day he had, and so there are a lot of great stories out of this event.
And to Jeff Burton, I would say thank him. I got to thank him for pushing me on that restart. I think Tony and I think the whole field was probably spinning their tires. I know I was, and I know Tony was. We were going through the gears as best and smooth as we could, but we were just old tires, and we were both just spinning. And Jeff, maybe he didn't really have anywhere else to go, but nonetheless, he pushed me. And he gave me the nose advantage I needed going into one.
Truthfully, I don't think I ever lost my confidence one time. Really, about 70 to go, I felt that like we could win the race. We had better tires than those guys, and felt fine about our fuel mileage, and we had got our car better and better all day. And he had found a few things on the racetrack that found us some speed. And with 10 to go, all you can think about is what could go wrong and what if the caution comes out. And he'll tell you, I was complaining every lap saying save some tires if there's a caution. And as soon as that caution came out, I felt like we were in the catbird seat. And the only way somebody was going to pass us is if they just roughed us up really, really bad. So, Tony Stewart, like Brian said, is absolutely amazing race car driver. And I never thought for a minute that he would take us out or do anything, just like Brian said. So I had lots of confidence going into that last deal.
All right, let's go to David Newton and Bob Pockers. Right up here.
He's pinkish shirt.
I should just start off by asking if your van got towed. I think you tweeted about that earlier today. No, I wanted to ask Brian a couple things. One, you mentioned your fiance was already stuck in traffic. Had she kind of given up on your chance to win and left, or what happened there? And does this convince Aaron's that you're the guy that they should go full time and you guys should have put it all together now?
No, we were flying home with Denny, and Austin had left, so her ride was leaving. I'm pretty sure she is very upset about that decision. And I can tell you there's no bigger fan that I have than hers, and no one has more confidence in me than her. So it had nothing to do with that. It was she was probably stuck between a rock and a hard place, and just did what she was told she had to do, and but she made it back. And
She jogged back.
what was the second question? She actually did. Yeah.
Yeah, was she in flip flops?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so she got to victory lane, and he was all sweaty. She was more sweaty.
Yeah.
I think she was just excited.
She probably more. Yeah. What was the second part of the question?
I mean, I know there's been whether Aaron's would commit and all that, and just trying to find a way to finalize the deal next year and all. I mean,
Actually, you know what? Let me back up for a second. I don't know this, but I'm going to speculate. My dad is what you would call extremely superstitious. And I'm sure, because she always watches the race with my parents in the stands, and I'm sure when it came time for her to go or stay, and the only reason she would stay is if we won, and we were probably racing for the win, I'll have to check on this, but I can almost guarantee my dad said, "You're leaving."
Yeah.
Because
don't do anything different.
Yeah, don't do anything different, because if you stay expecting him to win, in his mind that jinxes the win. So I'm going to go on the limb here and say, do you agree with it? He knows my father well. Is this probably not an accurate statement?
Yes.
He probably told her to leave. So I'm going to have a word with him about this. I have no idea. Yeah.
So, and I'll try to address the second one about Aaron's. They've been an incredible partner of Michael Waltrip Racing's for 12 years. They were with Michael in his garage behind his house, running 6 to 8 nationwide races when he started. They've gone through a lot of change, and what has been amazing is they've given us every opportunity to sit there in front of them and talk about NASCAR, talk about Michael Waltrip Racing, talk about the relationship we've had, and they're believers. And they're believers in Michael Waltrip Racing, and they're believers in Brian. Michael hasn't made he's made no bones about it. In the last 30 to 45 days, he talks about Brian a lot as being that candidate that we want to go ahead and try to get moving forward with. And all I can tell you is wins help a lot of business issues. And so this was a great day for that.
All right, let's go to Bob Pockers.
Bob Parker, Sporting News. That was kind of part of my question, but so Brian and Ty, are you confident that Brian will be in the 55 full-time next year?
I don't. He's been our focus, and we would love to have him in the car, but we need commercial support. So you can't do. Look, this is true for every race team, true for every probably sports entity, but certainly for NASCAR race teams. You do nothing without sponsors, and that's why we do so much for them. And Toyota has been a great supporter of Brian. And when we talked to Toyota about Brian being our driver, he's part of the freshman class from Toyota, so of course they liked Brian. Aaron's has really enjoyed their time with him, and I feel like we spent a lot of time with them in Kentucky. Thanks for the ring, we got a lot of hours with them, and I think we made a lot of progress in that direction. And so if I had to, have a crystal ball, that's where we want to go, and that's what I see in the future for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've all talked about it, and I think it goes without saying. I mean, kind of elaborating on some of the statements I made earlier, I feel very at home here, and I feel very comfortable, and I feel very confident in our chances to be successful. So this is where I want to be. And, going to what Ty said, Aaron's has been phenomenal to work with. I mean, there's partners that just write checks, and there's partners that are partners. And they've been that for MWR. They've been that for me. I haven't worked with them that much, but, it means the world to me that with everything going on, a couple years ago, that they wanted me in the car. And they've stood by me this whole time. And but at the end of the day, like Ty said, until the deal's done, the deal's not done. I mean, that goes for Jimmy Johnson or Jeff. I mean, you can't, the sport, you have to have, commercial sponsors and partners to put a car on the racetrack. So, I'm sure that a win helps, but it doesn't mean that the deal magically happens. I mean, we've still got work to do, and we have a lot of faith and confidence in Aaron's, and I like working with them. I'd love to see them come back, but that's their decision. But as far as I'm concerned, I mean, obviously, I have a tremendous amount of confidence and admiration for this whole team, and what they've done for me, and working with Rodney. So this is where I want to be.
All right, let's go upstairs.
Louis Frank of AutoWeek.com. Congratulations, guys. This is for Rodney. Take us through your thought process on that last pit stops, because there was a tweet there. I saw something. Addington thought they had enough fuel. I was just wondering what your strategy was on that final stop, what your thoughts about the competition was.
Yeah, I was actually surprised when the 14 stayed out there. We had just barely got into the wall that caution before, and got just a little right side damage, and I didn't want to take a chance on anything with the tires or anything like that, and got into the 38. So we ended up, when that caution come out, we came in and put 2 tires on it and filled it up with fuel. The bad thing about that is it kind of got us behind a few guys, the 43 and 47, and a few of those guys just splashed them with gas and left. But from that point on, we were about, I guess, 4 laps short or something like that, and we had really good fuel mileage, and it got to the point where I wasn't worried about it at all. We were about 3 or 4 laps to the good when we ended up having that last caution, and felt good about it.
I just want to add one thing. The 18 pitted late, right?
Yeah.
The 18 pitted late. He passed Brian. He was running second. So this is the strategy put Brian in the 55 in the top, with a shot at it. But we passed the guys, and Brian passed them, and won this race because he had a great race car, and he passed those guys. And even the ones with some of the tires that came in late were right on the bumper and had their shot, and took their shot. And so, yes, strategy put him in the position, but it was a fast car, and what he did in there that got the win.
All right, we have another question upstairs.
Reed Spencer with the NASCAR Wire Service. This is for either Rodney or Ty. I don't know whether you guys know it or not, but this puts the 55 car in the wild card spot for the Owners' Championship. So I wondered if that's a goal of yours at this point.
Well, I'll answer that. Rodney Childers deserves to run for a championship as a crew chief. And about a year and a half ago, we told him that we were going to run Mark Martin in 24 races and Michael in the speedway races, and we weren't even sure who was going to drive the other races at that point. And Rodney has everybody knocking on his door always, and we respect that. But he made the choice to stay.
Thank you.
And that was a big choice for our organization. And we, one of the very first things we talked about was racing for an owner's championship. Let's shake up the system. We'll have multiple drivers, but if we can win some races and be in a situation where we can run for an owner's championship, that would be just as remarkable as running for a driver's championship. And so our team has rallied around that. The 55 has rallied around that for the last year and a half. And so I know it's something that we're very aware of.
All right, I know we have a lot of questions downstairs, so just please bear with me as we try to get everybody in. Let's go Vega, Holly Kane.
Brian, Michael Vega, Boston Globe. Congratulations on this win. And you know, when you reflect back on it, what will be the overriding emotion that you will keep and cherish? And can you describe that scene at the end of the race? I think, were you going to try and execute a burnout, and did you run out of gas? And is that why you had to walk it in?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Either I've forgotten how to do a burnout, which is possible, or it ran out of gas, or something happened. I mean, I was mid-burnout and it just shut off. And then I spent a few seconds trying to restart it. I'm like, you know what, screw this. I just want to hang out with the fans. So I gave up restarting it, and then just went and got the flag and just hung out with the fans. I was actually hoping they would open the gate. I don't know. Yeah, I remember I go back to my first NASCAR win at Indianapolis, and I remember they opened the gate and the fans were there, and that was just a special moment for me. And you know, because it's the fans that make this sport happen. And then by the time I realized the gate wasn't open, the team was there, and I wanted to spend some time with them. And at that point, I don't know. I'm pretty sure we ran out of gas, but maybe not. But either way, it shut off and it wouldn't start. So whatever happened, it was the end of my burnout. But it was a special victory either way.
Mike, I just want to tell you, last year we won 3 races with Clint Boyer. All 3 times we ran out of gas. And so I came on the radio to Brian. I said, that's just kind of our thing. You run out of gas and walk to victory lane. Somebody push the car. Let's go.
Yeah. You went the extra mile, quite literally and figuratively, to get this win. But you also had to walk a few hundred extra feet to get that checkered, and then even more to get to victory lane. Did that, you know, the steps that you took, did you reflect about, you know, how far you had actually come to reach that moment?
Yeah, absolutely. It was difficult not to think about those last 50 laps or 30 laps or whatever it was. And I just tried to live in the moment as much as possible, turn by turn, and not think about the past or the future, what could or couldn't happen. And but once it was over, I think it was a sigh of relief, you know, with everything that had happened, to finally, you know, to clinch another victory after so long and after so much. And it was a lot of thankfulness. I don't know if, you know, that's the best. I mean, that's definitely the feeling I have. I just don't know if that's the right word to articulate it. But just thankful for everything that had happened, everything that didn't happen, you know, that I was able to get back into a race car, and that I had the support of family and friends to get through everything and to get back in a car. And, you know, that there was some people that still believed in me, namely these guys sitting here and everyone at MWR, to give me the chance. I mean, I think that was probably the biggest emotion that I still will have going forward, because, you know, they took a chance. And, you know, I mean, in a lot of ways, there was a lot going on and a lot of uncertainty for me. And, you know, whether it was health issues or all the drama or, you know, there was just so much. And so I'm just very thankful for all of that. And that was probably the number one and the main emotion that I had and still have.
All right, let's go to Holly. And then, Holly, if you'll just hand it off to the gentleman beside you. Thank you.
Congratulations. Ty, this is for you. Happy times at Michael Waltrip Racing. You won 2 of the last 4 races. Clint's second in the championship. Could you just kind of talk about the ascension of the team and where things are, and you guys really taking it to the next level, and the mood and atmosphere right now?
You know, one of the things that Michael harped on, he heard someone say this, so it just locked into his brain. He said, we got to get fast faster, and so whatever it takes to get fast. It's easy for him to say that, and then someone has to pay for it, and someone has to do that, and that's Rob Kaufman. And that man has done more to keep people employed, to keep us moving forward. He comes from a business that if you are just from the trading floor, if you're just a split second behind the trader in front of you, you lose millions of dollars. And so he doesn't like losing, and he doesn't like people who hesitate. So when he comes around, he asks us all the time, what do you need to be better? What do we need to fix issue A, B, C? And so that I'm happy. I'm probably happiest for those guys because they've put, Michael's got his whole life in this, and Rob's got a lot of passion for it. And so it's cool. It's Michael always tell us, you better wake up every morning like you're behind. And I know Rodney and those guys will do that Monday morning. We go into the next race, and he's going to feel like we're behind. We have to do more, and we have to work harder. And our organization is still, even though we're 260 or 275 employees, it still feels very much family owned, and it still feels like a small team who knows everybody's families and business. And when we celebrate with wives, husbands, children, and so it's a really cool atmosphere. And to hang more banners in our off the rafters is the coolest thing in the world.
Go ahead.
Bill Hunnicky, the Trenton Times. For Rodney, for the middle third of the race, basically you were stuck around 27th, 23rd, 24th. All of a sudden, between laps 210 and 225, you go from 24th to 5th. What was the key call during that time that jumped you almost 20 places there?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing was just being off sequence to the leaders, and and we kept working on the car all day and got it better and better, and we got to the point there where we were, I think we were 23rd or something like that, and we had about a 10 or 11 lap stretch that we were 1/10 to 2/10 a lap faster than the leader when we got in clean air. And I think 78 was leading at the time, but I told him, I was like, man, you're really good right here, whatever you're doing and all that stuff. But the biggest key was just being off sequence. And then I knew if we could ever get there that we would be in good shape. I told him at one point, I was like, we just need something to go right. We'd had a lot of things that went wrong in the beginning when we were lapped down the first time around, and I didn't feel comfortable with doing the wave around. I thought it was going to go green, and then we run 20 laps and the caution comes out, and we have to fight for the lucky dog again. And but it all worked out, and we were fortunate there at the end to do what we needed to do. And then we had a fast car, like Ty said. When you have Kyle Busch and Tony Stewart and people like that, it's a big deal. And we were fortunate enough to do that, and it feels really good.
Michael wants a picture. Michael's so mad. He said we spent 3 days together with Peak, one of our sponsors. We had a great event at Smart Motor Speedway for 3 days. So Thursday, he's like, all right, let's go to Loudon. He goes, wait a minute, I looked at my itinerary. It says London. I have to go to London. I'm only off by one letter. And so he went to the Goodwood Festival with Rob Kaufman, and so that decision, I'm sure he's having a glorious time there. But he's probably really upset about missing this because of what all these guys, but especially what that 55 means to him personally and what Aaron's means to him personally.
George Sione from the Nashville Telegraph. You mentioned how important it's been to you to have the support of your family, your friends, your crew. After the race, it seemed like there were a few drivers that were acknowledging what you did. How important is it to you, or do you feel anything special knowing that you have the respect of the guys out there you're battling with for the entire day, and they know what you've been through and what this means to you today?
No, it's a great point, and it was actually probably one of the most special moments of the win was coming around the backstretch and having so many guys, to show you respect. And every single car that came by, put a tire mark on the door, or were shaking their fist in a good way, and or give me a wave and just. And it wasn't just a lazy wave. They really meant it. I think, I'm very thankful for that. I'm sure not everyone in the field, but I'm very thankful that most of them and, a lot of my peers I've raced with for so long, and I have so much respect for that it's shown in return in a moment like this with you know, a lot of those guys know, you know, everything I've gone through. And I, you know, the one in particular, and, you know, Casey Mears and Jimmy came to Victory Lane, and those are two of my closest friends in motorsports, and have a lot of respect for both of them, and great guys. But when Jimmy came by me on the racetrack, I think he was shaking his fist harder. I mean, he was like jumping out of the seat. I think he was so excited for me. He, you know, I haven't seen him fist pump that hard since, like, I don't know, maybe a Daytona win or something, and that meant a lot to me. I mean, Jimmy is first and foremost a friend, but you know, he's probably one of the greatest drivers that have ever raced the sport. You know, he's won 5 championships, and you know, him along with a lot of others, it just meant a lot. And you know, the first time I met Jimmy was in it was I think 2001. It was my very first nationwide race, and I was completely lost. And apparently, it was clear in my face. So Jimmy, who was racing nationwide at the time, come up and said, "You look lost." I said, "Yes, I am." He said, "Come over here." I said, "Okay." So he showed me around. He told me about driver intros, and this is where you need to go, and this is where you need to be. And you know, that was my first time I met Jimmy Johnson. And he didn't know me, I didn't know him. He was just helping me out, and we became friends, and been friends for a long time. So that one meant a lot to me.
All right, we're gonna go. I'm sorry.
I want to say one thing about Jimmy, and it's funny we talked about this, but after Jimmy won last week, I sent him a message and told him congratulations, and he sends me a message back, and it said, "Hey man, that means a lot to me. I've never told you before, but you have done completely awesome, and I'm so proud of what you've done." And I remember in 2000 and 2001, we were kids trying to figure out what we were going to do. And not many people know it, but when Jimmy was getting out of that Herzog car, they were talking to me about driving that push car. And for him to win 5 championships and for him to send me a text message back the other day, that meant more than anything that probably anybody's ever said to me almost. And I mean, you can ask my wife. I went on and on about for a long time. So that dude is completely incredible, and you know, everybody makes rumors whether he's going to be the best there's ever been, and I would have to agree that he probably will be.
All right, let's go to Dustin, Matt, and then we're going to end with Bob.
Dustin Long, Motor Racing Network. Brian, when you crossed the finish line, your words were, "Hey, career, welcome back, baby."
Those weren't mine.
Those were not yours? Okay.
Those were mine.
Those were not, okay.
I was talking about my career, of course. It's been a rough couple of years. Yeah. Woo, spot a career back. No, I didn't spot.
Well, let me ask you then.
No, I think my comments were explicit and very awesome and extremely excited.
More explicit.
And you know, and just all of the above. But yeah, no, I didn't. I appreciate him saying that comment, but that's not a comment I would make about myself. I've learned the hard way. There's no guarantees in life, so I'm just taking it in.
Obviously the past will always be a part of you. Will always be a part of the narrative of your story, but a day like this, does it close the door in one aspect? I mean, it'll always still be. Those experiences will always still be there, but does that close the door in your mind on the last 2 or 3 years in some ways?
Yeah, it's a very good question, and you know, I guess I haven't thought about it until you really mentioned it, and I suppose in a lot of ways it does. You know, I never will, and I don't want to forget those memories and the things that I learned through those experiences. You know, even though they were difficult and challenging, but you know, I think at a certain point it is good to shut the door on some things and look forward and move on. And I think to finally have, you know, I don't know if the monkey on your back is really the right expression, but to finally, you know, get that victory. To, you know, it's one thing to get back in a race car. It's another thing to, you know, have a good day, but it's a whole other thing to win a race. And I think that this win today, you know, in a lot of ways is, you know, takes a weight off my shoulders and is a breath of fresh air and very relieving. and probably does allow me to live a little bit more in the moment and focus on the future and not so much in the past and what's happening. Ultimately that's the reason I came back is what's to be, not what has happened, and to start fresh and have a second career and go race for a championship.
Did you need to prove it to yourself or just prove it to others?
I don't know if I've ever really felt that I need to prove anything to anyone else. I think proving it to myself, that's just, when I'm in the race car, I'm probably the hardest on myself than anyone else, and proving it to myself meant a lot. And it wasn't the others I was worried about. It was myself.
All right, Matt, go ahead.
Brian Ty, Matt Wernes, WWLP.com. Brian, I know in the past we've had long green flag runs up here. Today, a lot of cautions. Just explain how your car was in Ty. It seems like MWR has come a long way in the past year or two with Boyer and Truex. Do you guys feel that the hard work has paid off, or is there more to come?
Yeah, the cautions, I don't know exactly what all the cautions were for, but the entire field is so competitive, and all these cars are so close, and you're running this, the times are so close, you just have to fight so hard for every inch, even in the middle of the race when you're running 20th, or you're fighting for a lucky dog, and I think that just leads to more cautions. And this is a track where it's easy to get inside someone, but it's very difficult to complete the pass. And while you're inside of them, it's very easy to get loose or hit someone. The last caution I think was debris, so that wasn't. I don't know if there were more of those, but I think in general, just having more cautions probably is because of just the competitiveness of the sport and how close everyone is, and how I think you feel like you have to just fight for every single inch, every single spot.
Yeah, to answer your question about the hard work, if we, for 1 second, decided to sit back in our chairs and kick our feet up on the desk, Rodney and Ryan Patty, Chad Johnston, and all the drivers would be over there kicking them off and saying we got to get busy. So we raced in Pocono, a month ago, and we raced there in 3 or 4 weeks. We won't come back the same, and by the time the chase happens, we'll have another version of our next iteration of our car. We're right dead in the beginning of our third performance improvement plan, which is put in place. The first one was put in place in 2011, and Toyota continues to bring out more steps on the engine side. So there's absolutely more to come.
All right, let's go to Bob, and then we'll take our final question from Jim Utter up front.
Bob Parker, Sporting News. This is much like Dustin's question, but maybe different and worded a little bit differently in the sense, did you feel you needed to win to kind of complete the comeback or cap the comeback since your sickness?
It certainly adds a lot to it. I think, I guess it depends on how you define complete. Coming back, there were multiple goals. Typically when you make a list of goals, there's not just one. One goal was, to get out of the hospital. Goal 2 was, to get back in a race car. And then 3 was to win a race. But ultimately the goal and the decision to come back to racing was to win a championship. So when that job's done, then I think it'll be more complete.
All right, Jim, we'll take our final question.
Jim Uttershaw, Observer for Rodney. Seeing some tweets immediately after the race from Mark and Arlene kind of reminded me that this is really, and this is a true team win where you have, you've mentioned often the drivers that you get to work with, and that there's obviously a lot of work that goes in having different drivers go in and out of the car. How difficult is that for a crew chief? And there's probably some who would elect not to take that challenge. Why does it work for you?
I don't know. I mean, first of all, we have 3 really, really good drivers. And second of all, everybody doesn't treat it the way that everybody thinks it's treated. It's not treated like there's 3 different drivers, and we don't try to set the car up different for 3 different drivers. And when we talk about setups and which car we're going to take and all this kind of stuff, we don't even think about who's driving it that weekend. We just concentrate on how we can put the best car together and the best setup together, and we go to the racetrack that way. And the good thing is these guys have believed in us and have believed in what we're doing. And when, you know, different people have different things they've done for years and years and years, and not one time has any of those guys come to me and said, oh, I used to do it this way, I don't think you're doing it right. They believe in what we're doing. And, you know, it's all I ever ask is somebody to give 100%. And if I'm never giving 100%, I want Ty to, you know, kick me and get me going. But, you know, our team tries really, really hard, and we've got a lot of good guys that have been together for a long time. And like he said, when this deal came about, I mean, I've told my guys every day. I told them before the race today in the trailer, look, we're 26 points out of 10th. We can make this chase on owner's points. I was like, all we've got to do is win a race, knock out some top 5s, some top 10s, and we can do this. And Lord and behold, this happened today. So,
what are you going to say next Sunday, or 2 weeks from now?
You know, and Mark's had some time off, and when Mark gets some time off, he comes back like a ball of fire, and everybody knows how much Mark Martin loves Indy. And we've got a good car we're taking back, and some good horsepower under the hood. So hopefully we can keep this ball rolling.
I was going to point this out about 4 questions ago, but it's amazing that you went to that question, because I just looked over and I realized that his hat says Mark Martin on it. He has a Mark Martin hat. So Mark Martin got sprayed with champagne today. So, hey, Mark, good job, Mark.
No, you've got to run 10 races to get your own hat.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's 1 race short. We'll see if we can work it out.
Yeah, one thing we you know, Rodney alluded to it. We haven't talked a lot about it today, but I just want to thank, you know, Mark and Michael as my teammates, both for the guidance, the mentorship. You know, I mean, I talked to Mark a lot over the last couple of years, and especially a lot, you know, right when I first come back, about a lot of things I was going through, and you know, he's been phenomenal. You know, I've said this several times, and I want to say it again. You know, gosh, I wish I could have shared a car with him 10 years ago. You know, and it's been great for me personally, and great for this team. He is he's an amazing man. He's a phenomenal race car driver, and I'm honored to be his teammate. And nothing would make me happier. I told him at Christmas, you know, and I said, man, nothing would make me happier than to win an owner's championship with you. That's my goal this year. And you know, it's in sight. There's no guarantees, but it's in sight.